Hello there, I'm Sconchulus, and this is TEPPEN Quick Take, where we give a deck one shot and see what it do. Today we are playing the first red deck on the channel, and one I'm almost ashamed to profile. It's TEPPEN's ultimate deck for Timmies, and those among us who lack patience, Big Red Shoryuken. This deck wins consistently in under a minute with no effort or decision making of any kind by simply slamming down a big unit and making the numbers on it as big as possible. The reason this works is breaking into Sanctuary is way over curve for 1 MP, with the supposed downside being that you can only play it on the strongest units in red, which definitely makes it balanced. Just a single copy is already nasty, and with extra buffs, this becomes a problem. Zinogre Rampage is equally important to make blockers completely irrelevant. Then you just end your combo with Shoryuken and take off more than 50% life, like it's Season 1 of the new Street Fighter. To take advantage of all this, we are playing 3 Great Izuchi, who at baseline can already receive the Rampage, and that's really all that matters. Rush is great to put on extra pressure on another lane, and Spillover fully clears the board with Shoryuken, but just being a big dude is what's important. Next we have a bunch of legendaries. Fate-defying Ryu doesn't even care about his iconic attacking effect, he's just a fast guy that punches a lot. You will eventually build up the effect after spamming actions, but he's often the first and only unit you play, so agility is all you really notice. Jungle King Kongalala is basically exactly the same, but is also way harder to kill. He does give you a poo bomb as well, which is very kind of him, but during my 12 win streak, I only used it a single time. And the last legendary you absolutely need to have is Dread King Rathalos. If you can hit a single Shoryuken with the Dread King, he will turn your opponent's field to scorched earth, because his effect will activate twice. Having to play under what's basically a board wipe every 10 seconds is oppressive, and will require hard removal from your opponent, which is the big weakness of this deck. Since we invest so much in one unit, getting more than one out at a time is not easy, and that problem is almost entirely solved by the brand new Rick. Love to see it. He's a 6 MP unit that you only pay 3 MP for, which will give Black's Titanic Gatekeeper only a 50% chance to save them. If he's your only opening unit, paying 6 MP is fine, cause his stats are still nice, but you really want to invade him every game right at 9 MP so you can play another unit with him the second you hit 10. Then just alternate buffing both of them, and there's very little counterplay. The remaining legendaries we have are all basically optional and can easily be swapped out for the Storm Eagle. The Chadmiral is the most iconic. This dude is just huge for no reason at all, and his effect is devastating, which makes him just about the best unit to immediately win the game turn 1. But he's a bit expensive after that, and in this deck, any other unit does just as well. Onimusha Samanosuke is also a pretty sick inclusion, since he doesn't need Zinogre Rampage to pierce. That and Rush make him a perfect surprise finisher, but if he's the first unit you play, he's arguably the worst one in the whole deck, until he starts buffing himself. Next, Mutant Lord Moreau is way less exceptional than everybody else, but he's a great tank while you charge for someone stronger. And President's Agent Leon is just here really for fun, but if you can combo him with the Dread King, he's pretty broken. And I guess I should go over the remaining buffs. Raizan is a +1 that breaks shield. A Warm Trail is +1/+2 that ensures you have more gas. Flash of Valor isn't a buff, but it stops counterplay. Castle on the Run is mostly to protect against aggro, since we win too fast for the memory effect. And True Self is the strongest buff with Shoryuken. If you have the secret art, I recommend you only play one for aesthetic reasons. Here's the deck QR for you, and with all that said, let's do this! This time we are up against Cammy Cross Stinger Assault, more commonly known as Nero's Devil Breaker, but our opponent has access to the mental buff that comes with being the owner of an EX skin, especially one as, I don't really have a respectful way to describe it, but you all know what I mean. We'll start the game off by invading our Rick. Our opponent plays down a Nana, and when Rick hits the field, we'll play down a Great Izuchi, and our opponent plays down themselves onto the field. We'll activate Breaking into Sanctuary on our Great Izuchi, as well as a second copy on our Rick, and he will go up to 3-9 while our Izuchi goes to 5-10. We'll activate a Warm Trail after those resolve, and when they resolve, we'll try to go for Shoryuken on our Izuchi, but our opponent has the evasive to reset him, so the Shoryuken isn't quite as worth it at this moment. So rather than doing that, we'll go for a Warm Trail on Rick to bring him up to the same level as the Izuchi, and our opponent will shield their Cammy, which we weren't really planning to contest at any point. We'll activate Zenogre Rampage on our Rick, and we will go for Shoryuken on him. Our opponent is able to one-shot our Izuchi using their Huitzel, and we will go for a True Self on Rick to really get some serious damage in, but our opponent is then able to go for White Cat Circus, and they're able to seal our Rick, as well as bringing him down to 1-1 using the Unleash of Tiny Hero Feline. To clear the field and stay in the game, our only chance now is to use Shoryuken on another Izuchi. Our opponent plays down Nana and another Cammy, and Nana's shield will be a problem here, but we'll go for Zenogre Rampage. Our opponent goes for another shield, and we're able to use Reizan to hopefully clear it, and that should be enough to get in, but our opponent has Sanctuary's Gates, which will give them just enough HP to survive, unless we go for one last copy of a Warm Trail, which will give us the exact amount we need to get in one hit for lethal, taking the game. So, should you play this deck? From a moral perspective, no! And I beg you all not to play this deck. The last thing I want is more people running Big Red Shoryu on ladder. It's so frustrating to play against, and there's nothing interactive about it, and you won't gain any skills at all that'll help you get better at TEPPEN. But I can't deny it feels pretty good to troll every one of your opponents on ladder. If you're in the mood to just kick back and watch something in the background while you play TEPPEN, this is the perfect deck for it, and it's hilarious. But it's scummy as all hell. This is one of the most toxic decks ever, and it is as powerful as it is toxic. I nearly hit top 100 playing this list, and I think it's very possible to do so, but it'd be kind of frustrating as well, cause when you lose, it's completely out of your hands to have done anything about it. The deck also gets kind of boring fast, cause there's no decision making of any kind, but if you come at it with the right perspective where you just want to do a little trolling, this deck is the only deck that really scratches that itch. I also have a budget version here for you, for those of you who want to cause havoc without shelling out the big souls. But without Zenogre Rampage, which this deck is gonna lose to rotation in another month, it loses a lot of its oomph. Still, there's nothing else quite like it, and for what it is, this deck is pretty fun. Thank you all for watching. Please like the video if you liked the video. Subscribe if you subscribed. Once again, I'm Scontulus, and I'll see you in the next one.